Hey guys, Eric Cogorno here with Performance Golf, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how you can hit your driver much better, specifically if you're one of the senior golfers out there that wants to hit your driver better, maybe a little bit farther. We've got 3 awesome keys in today's video that are going to really help me. If you don't recognize the handsome gentleman to my right, Mr. Andrew Rice, appreciate you being out here with us.
Eric, thanks for having me, man. Really excited, looking forward to it.
We're happy to have Andrew out here. If you haven't seen Andrew's videos before, you're going to really enjoy these, much more to come in the week or 2 ahead. And for driver, and I know you see a lot of senior golfers, you get a lot of people come into your golf schools and they want to hit their driver better. And we talked a little bit off camera, Andrew, about what holds people back with their driver and what can we do to really make them improve. And we think there's 3 things that could really help the viewer hit their driver significantly better. The first part with the setup. And I know we want to make sure we set up to the golf ball well no matter what, but if you got a senior golfer in front of you and they want to hit their driver better, really what are the main 1 or 2 keys with the setup that they can do to sort of cheat the backswing a little bit and help them hit it higher and farther?
Eric, let's talk a little bit about what the senior golfer typically is. They've been sitting at a desk for a long time. Those shoulders are rounded. The body really doesn't want to move quite as freely as it once did. And so we've got to, as you said, create a little bit of a cheat code for that golfer so they can start to perhaps gain a little bit of length to the backswing and ultimately add a little club head speed to the golf ball. I've taught so many golfers this season in my golf schools, and it's amazing how every single one of them, what are your objectives for the week? I want to hit it longer. Right. I want to hit it longer. And so really what we're going to share today is 3 very simple keys that you've learned, that I've learned over the years in helping senior golfers to really start to get a sense of, like, how can I get the club head traveling faster? How can I swing more freely and make life easier for myself?
Yeah, and before we go into, guys, like the third one's going to be a downswing piece that's so important. Make sure you continue watching for that one. We need to do the first 2 to set us up for that downswing piece. You're going to really like that one. But let's get us started here with the setup things. Maybe what are the 1 or 2 pieces there that are key, Andrew?
Okay, we know that at address, yes, we're going to tee the ball up high because we want to strike the ball higher on the face. That's going to help give us high launch, low spin. Let's make sure we're using that. We don't need longer tees, but we're just using all of that standard length tee. We're going to get the ball positioned inside, just inside our lead heel. Even if it's a little forward of that, I'm fine with that. Spine is going to be tilted away from the target ever so slightly, just to facilitate a little bit of that ascending strike, the club head traveling up as it runs into the golf ball. But I like, and I think you would agree, Eric, this trail foot, we've got to get this trail foot back just a little bit. And I even like a little bit, we don't need a lot, just a little bit of that foot flare right there. Because I like to think of what would the opposite do. If I move that forward and turn my foot in, well, there's the length of my backswing. That's all I got. Okay, and so let's get this trail foot back and flared just a little bit, because I know that that's going to facilitate a much freer, bigger backswing.
Yeah, and when you guys are watching this, can you show the bad example again, Andrew, where you show the foot in and flared the wrong way? So like, you guys try this out too. Don't hurt yourself, but try making a backswing with like the stance open and the foot in and see how far you can go. It's very, very restricted. Now, are there some people, on tour who have a ton of mobility who could do that? Of course. But for most of us, we probably don't, move as well as we used to. We're trying to make things easier, not more difficult. What a good little example that is. Like, literally try that at home and then try the version Andrew just showed with the foot back and flared. And you're gonna be like, wow, yeah, that does feel a lot easier to turn back and get that free backswing motion. And Andrew, when the player does that, they could just go golf like that, right? It doesn't need to just be
Certainly.
Yeah.
Eric, so many golfers are under the false impression that where your feet are angled, if you look at my feet here, certainly from this down the line camera, my feet appear to be going way out to right field there. So many people are under the false impression that where your feet are aligned is where your body is going. And I would love for people to start thinking about where your shoulders are going is far more important.
Yeah.
Okay, the golf ball doesn't really know where your feet or shoulders are going, but I find that the shoulder alignment has a far bigger influence on where we swing and where that golf ball's going. than the feet. And so don't worry, don't feel like you're going to start hitting way from the inside. We are certainly, and I think we should stress this, Eric, that we're not dropping this foot back so we can hit more from the inside. We're dropping this foot and positioning it correctly so that we can make that bigger, fuller, freer backswing.
So with the stance line closed, you say like, hey, the hips and the shoulders are still going to be like relatively square.
Correct.
It's just that foot pop back.
I like that.
Yeah, and that helps with that hip turn. Andrew, if you don't mind popping one out,
Come on,
just to kind of hit one with that.
Let's give it a go here.
Yeah, just to put a little motion on it. I know you're not quite senior golfer yet, Andrew, but you know, that was a beautiful little kind of 2-yard cut right down the middle of the fairway. Maybe let's switch spots for a second.
Jump in.
So we want to get the foot back to make the turn easier, right? And test that versus the foot in. I think that's such a good visual. But then from there, we still probably, with cue number 2, want to learn how to have a pretty free backswing turn. You know, I would say terms like restricted, tight, maybe aren't the area we want to go if you're a senior golfer.
Create some stretch.
Yeah, right. We want probably more like a Sam Snead. Maybe we'll put Sam Snead on the screen. Kind of longer in your mind, right? Like longer, more fluid, free backswing motion. But then the question is like, what do we have to focus on to get that? Right, that's cool, that sounds great.
Exactly.
How do we do that?
Exactly. Let's start, Eric, let's take it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Okay, there's so many areas we could pick on just for this second point here, but let's start from the ground up, and I think, go ahead and make this big full backswing. I gotta tell you, your swing has improved so much, mate, over the years. It is absolutely beautiful.
I appreciate that. If you guys haven't seen, Andrew and I were talking, we haven't filmed for probably 4 or 5 years now, so it's been a little while.
It really has gotten really good. But watch this, as Eric winds up to the top, that lead heel comes up off the ground just a little bit. I love to see, as he makes this backswing, watch that trail knee right there. And right there, I like that right there. That idea of keeping the flex in the trail knee, I think we've got to get rid of that. Let's straighten. It doesn't have to get to a point where it's ramrod straight, but let's allow that trail leg to straighten. And we want to feel like, in your case, the right side is elevating, the lead side is working down just a little bit.
Yeah, and as I'm going back, okay, so like my lead heel can come up, that's okay. And as my lead heel comes up, and maybe we'll show that Sam Snead, some golfers might feel that lead knee in a little bit, some freedom of motion with that. I might be feeling, and these are different ways to do the same thing. Maybe 4 or 5 different cues just to like free up the turn. Right? These are all different cues to do the same thing. So I might be feeling as I'm doing that, like my belt buckle's pointed back at, away from the target. I really like, and one thing I notice a lot of golfers, Andrew, is when, in terms of this free backswing turn, I see a lot of people, and I just happen to always look at the right hip and shoulder, like I always just cue in on that. I see a lot of them where that right hip and shoulder have very little movement.
Yes.
And if my right shoulder and right hip don't go anywhere, I can only swing the club back so far.
Just do that again for me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's got to be arms. It's got to be a lot of arms, right?
Yeah, I got nothing going.
It's tough to connect
I see
things
this a
together
lot, or
there.
at least I look at golfers, I see that shoulder, and then I say, okay, how about you think about getting that trail hip and that trail shoulder working around, back towards the target, even to the point where when you look on camera, if you really do it well, you might even see that trail shoulder get on this side of the body.
That would be nice.
Really get some full turn going.
That would be nice.
You really feel that trail shoulder and trail hip turning around. And as we know with feels versus reels, and I'll hit one, I'm gonna feel like I make a pretty big free turn. I probably won't go as far as I feel.
Yes,
and so
I know that's my case for sure.
Yeah, so like in the beginning of doing this, you might feel, holy cow, guys, this feels loosey-goosey and big. And then maybe you look at it and you realize, wow, I only like turned an extra couple degrees there. So you might have to feel a lot to get a little bit. Why don't I poke one out here?
Let's see.
See that same thing. So I'm gonna get the foot back. I'm gonna really, Andrew, feel the trail shoulder and trail hip around on the way back and try and make that full backswing turn. Oh, yeah, and there was a nice one.
That's drawing
right. About the same line as Andrew. Maybe kissed it on the way by there, but about the same line there. Andrew, why don't you pop back in and let's do, that third piece, because obviously we want to get the setup good, right? We want to get the backswing good, but ultimately, the only reason we really do both of those two is to make the downswing better and easier. And we were talking before, gosh, I see a lot of golfers come in from this angle here especially players who don't have speed like the PGA Tour players, who are really trying to get the handle way forward with a driver, and they hit it too low, they lose a lot of distance. So maybe instead of that, what are some of the cues, or what's that third cue we should be thinking about?
So guys, keep in mind, okay, this club head is going to communicate with that golf ball. And if we don't ever really get the club head moving, if we don't get that club head traveling at max speed for us, there's not going to be much speed relayed into the golf ball. And so what can I do as I swing this club head, and I can feel this straight away here, as I wind up to the top, and I don't even need to go back very far. If I want to create that sound, I've got to almost have that sense that I'm, to a certain degree, throwing the club head into the back of the golf ball. There's no hold, there's no drag, there's no pulling on the handle to try to get that club head picking up speed coming into impact. I want to feel like from the top, I'm really going to let it go and get some of that swish going.
Yeah. Do you mind poking one more out there for us?
Not at all. Let's give it a go.
Back.
I know I can't keep up with you.
A little bit of, well, you get it out there, 250 or so. Fairway finder. Good turn. Yeah, that's beautiful. We would all take that every single time.
I would.
And so, you know, we talked off camera, like I spend a lot more time, guys, with senior golfers, teaching golfers how to let it go versus hold on to it. The ball's on a tee. You need some loft. If you swing 130 miles an hour, okay, that's a different ball game. But for the senior golfer watching, gosh, I think those three are really important. Start with the setup piece, right, with the foot back. Certainly don't try and restrict anything. Let it go on the way back here like this, get some good depth and length, and then line it up on the way down, okay? Slightly different conversation when the ball's on the ground. That's for another video. But when the ball's on the tee, Andrew, appreciate you, as always. And
Thanks,
guys,
Eric.
if you like Andrew, which I know you do, in these sort of videos, and you want to go to a golf school, you want some in-person coaching on these things we're talking about, we're going to put a link in the first link down below. You can go to golf camps with guys like Andrew Rice, Martin, Chuck, the best coaches in the world. We would love to see you at one of those. Any questions, as always, leave a comment down below. Thank you guys for watching.